Audiobook by Fragrant Pig 89. Chapter 002, Elder Sister. Yiyun had trouble describing his first impression of the girl. It was a strange sense of familiarity. She looked to be approximately 15 years old, wearing a patched-up green blouse with colored trousers that were too dark to tell the color of. The trousers' legs were rolled up high, betraying her white legs. Her ankles were dotted with fresh mud splashes. With a slender body and a slim waistline, she had a radiant face with rosy red cheeks. As she walked down the village path, she was like fresh mountain dew rejuvenating Yiyun. "Who is this girl?" Yiyun exchanged glances with the young girl. She stood there, dazed for a moment before she loosened her grip on the rope holding the basket up on her shoulder. Yiyun suddenly got a weird feeling. The girl in front of him was clearly approximately 15 years old, like a flower bud, and yet, why did she look taller than him? She was probably taller than him by more than half a head. If they were closer, he would have to tilt his head up to look at the young girl. It must be an illusion caused by fatigue. Yiyun still did not understand, but at this moment he heard the girl's clear voice like a mountain lake. "Yunur." The girl threw her basket down as she ran towards Yiyun with her mouth agape. Her beautiful eyes already brimming with tears. Wait. Yiyun was in a daze. He looked around and found out that he was the only person within a mile radius, so the girl was running towards him. The Yunur she was calling, could it be himself? Yiyun had the single character Yun as his name, but no one had ever called him Yunur. No one in modern-day society would do so, so it was no surprise his reaction was slow. In actuality, he was unable to react at all as the girl rushed towards him like the wind and embraced him. The girl's fresh scent filled his nostrils as her soft body overwhelmed Yiyun. He had no reaction as he was dumbfounded. He had been buried alive while mountain climbing, and when he finally managed to dig himself out, it was from within a grave. And after he did so, with great effort, he was embraced by a little lowly without him knowing who she was. Yiyun did not anticipate that, as a young adult, he would be hugged so tightly by a lowly. What's the meaning of this? Yunur, you worried your sister sick. As long as you are all right, as long as you are all right. The little lowly was tightly hugging Yunyi, her sharp chin lodged into Yiyun's shoulders while she sobbed uncontrollably. Her grip was strong, as if she was using all of her strength to merge Yiyun's body into her own. She was afraid that this was all a dream, that the moment she released him, Yiyun would disappear again. Yiyun stood there, petrified like a gargoyle, with a myriad of expressions on his face as the little lowly hugged him. Sister. At this moment, Yiyun, who had been barraged with numerous baffling events, finally understood something. This little lowly is the elder sister from his tombstone. The words "beloved brother, grave of Yiyun" was clearly written by this little lowly. Considering that this little lowly was treating him as her younger brother, maybe she missed her brother so much that she mistook him for her brother. Yiyun tried to rationalize it, but the more he thought about it, the more something seemed off. This little lowly should be attending middle school. Her younger brother is at most 12 or 13 years old. How could she mistake an adult like himself for her younger brother? Wait a moment. An adult like himself? Yiyun suddenly realized something. He compared his height with the girl. Seeing how his mouth only reached to her shoulders, he had an ominous feeling. He stretched out his arms from beneath the little lowly's arms and looked at his own hands. What he saw were the soft and tender hands of a child. Are these my hands? Have I become young again? Yiyun was utterly confused. Becoming young, suddenly having a sister, a baffling identity. This together with the ancient-looking tombs, the unfamiliar plains, the foreign words and language that he could read, listen, and understand. Everything only pointed to one conclusion, but Yiyun refused to believe what his gut was now telling him. The girl's body kept shivering. It could be excitement, it could be fear. Yun could not recall anything about this girl, but he could appreciate the girl's feelings and warmth. It was a magical feeling. The girl wiped her tears as she held Yun's hand. She went to pick up the basket, intending to head home. But this jolt made Yun stagger as he felt nauseous. Yun felt his stomach and all he could feel was hunger. He was suddenly overcome with hunger. Ever since he was buried alive, he had not even had a single morsel of food or water. If it was not for that weird purple crystal card, he would have died much sooner. Naturally, it was normal for him to feel so hungry. The girl noticed Yun's frailty and bent down with her back facing Yun. A soft and warm back with streaks of perspiration appeared in front of Yun's eyes. Yuner, sis will carry you. Let's go home, never to be separated again. Yun didn't know how to describe his feelings, a little loli was going to carry him. Yuner, get on. Your body may have recovered but it is still weak. As she said that, she glanced towards the tunnel Yun crawled out of and felt pain. Her younger brother had never died. Thankfully, they were too poor to afford a coffin, or he would have been buried alive. If that was to happen, she would feel worse than having to bear 1,000 lashes on her body. Luckily, her brother had woken up, and luckily he was not buried too deeply. This time, she would never separate from her younger brother again. The girl noticed that Yun stubbornly did not get on her back and decided that he was probably feeling embarrassed. She shifted the basket forward and firmly held Yun's thighs close to her waist. Yun was befuddled, he had no idea how he ended up on the girl's back. All he felt was his body being lightly lifted up onto the girl's soft shoulders and that all his weight was now supported by a pair of slim legs. The girl's pair of tiny hands held Yun's legs and with a heave, adjusted his position as she headed down the small path. Yun could smell the young girl's body fragrance as he laid on her back. It was different from the aromas that came from perfumes or body lotions city people used. It was a fresh smell, made up of wildflowers and soil. It was refreshing. He started to confirm more of what was now happening. He did not want the girl to piggyback him, but he didn't know how to voice it out. Using his own language to talk to someone who wasn't his sister, it would be too awkward. At this moment, Yun heard a rumble from afar. He couldn't resist looking back towards the sound. The girl also looked back. All they saw was a dust storm forming in the distance. The girl flinched and hurriedly ran to hide behind a big tree while carrying Yun. The dust storm approached at a dazzling speed. Yun looked carefully and suddenly saw a huge beast running on the field. He gasped when he carefully looked at the beast. Heavens! Is that a wild beast? It was 7 to 8 meters tall and over 10 meters long. It had long sharp fangs and limbs as thick as steel beams. Its razor-sharp claws were like blades that formed horrific deep trenches. Compared to this monster, the beasts on Earth, like the lion or tiger, were more like kittens. What startled Yun even more, was that a middle-aged man was riding on the weird beast. With a commanding aura, he sat cross-legged on top of it with a sword slung across his back. Because of the angle, Yun could not see his face, but his blood had frozen over as the person sitting on top of the wild beast, was over 10 times more terrifying than the wild beast. With this Yun knew without a doubt that the place he had crawled into, was no longer Earth. He had arrived in a mysterious world. His name was Yun and he had been resurrected from the dead. He had a cute and beautiful elder sister who adored him. Her name was probably Zhangziro. The elder sister Zhangziro written on that tombstone wasn't a signature inscription, it was common practice to list the loved ones of the deceased. It seemed like Yun only had his elder sister, Zhangziro, in his entire family. All of this wasn't a dream. It was actually happening. He had tunneled through space-time. Heaven, are you fucking kidding me? Yun wanted to cry. What sort of bad luck was this? Climbing a mountain resulted in him tunneling through space-time. Although it was better than death, but, to reach a totally unfamiliar world. There were beasts the size of hills, with crazily strong people. From the sword that the strong man had, this was probably an era where cold metal reigned. With his small and weak stature of not more than 12 years of age, he would not even be sufficient to fill the gaps in a wild beast's teeth. Yiyun was adamant that this was related to him touching the mysterious purple crystal card. It could even be that from the moment the cave collapsed, he was no longer on Earth. He might even have been transformed into the Yiyun of this different world. And due to the darkness of the cave, he was unable to realize this. So if he had come to this world due to the crystal card, was it possible to return with the crystal card? This was Yiyun's first thought. As a person living a peaceful life in the modern world, it was hard for him to accept this medieval era. It was not a world that he understood. The only thing he gained after losing everything he once had, was a multitude of questions. Recalling the crystal card, Yiyun paused. Where is the crystal card? As the question flashed in his mind, Yiyun felt a coolness at his chest. Touching it with his hands, he felt the crystal card securely resting on his chest. This puzzled Yiyun. He did not recall placing the crystal card there, and yet it was there. What in the world is this thing? Yiyun did not understand, but undoubtedly, it was not simple. If he examined its capabilities, it would undoubtedly play a huge role, be it him staying in this world or returning to Earth. He had to grab every opportunity to examine and understand that card. Out of nowhere, a name flashed in Yiyun's mind: Purple Crystal Origins. Purple Crystal. Purple Crystal Origins. Why did those words appear in my head? Why did such a name flash in my mind? Yiyun was puzzled. The name Purple Crystal Origins appeared in his mind the moment he wanted to name the purple crystal card. Purple Crystal Origins, let's just call it Purple Crystal, but could its original name be Purple Crystal Origins? Subscribe for more chapters.